gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I am your host, Data T, and this is my channel, The Good Guys. Guys, today's story comes out of Indianapolis, and the title reads, "I was probably gonna be dead," said beating victim in fatal shooting. Now, guys, before we get into today's story, if you wouldn't mind leaving a like, leaving a comment, subscribe. Remember, we are on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and I know we can get there, especially with your help. Guys, you can also hit me on Twitter. Have a lot of interesting conversations there, and you can hit me on Minds and even Truth Social. So let us dive into today's story. Let us see what is going on.
Shooting that left one man dead on Indy's northwest side this morning may be a defense case involving a third person. It happened on Eugene Street just before 3:30 this morning. Fox 59's Russ McQuaid headed out there to find out how it all started.
This is the 500 block of Eugene Street in the Unwa community, where mental illness likely played a role in what very well may be a self-defense homicide early this morning. 12 hours after the killing, the neighborhood is quiet again, as a woman who told me she was beaten relived the minutes when she said a mentally ill nephew showed up at her door.
He threw me to the ground and stomped my face and stomped my head and punched me in my face. I got up and he threw me back down again.
While the woman was down on her front porch, another nephew, a teenager, came out of the house with a gun.
Then my nephew just started shooting, and then my other nephew was still hitting me, and so then he got up and ran down the street and fell.
Guys, let me stop it there. This has got to be one hard situation. You got two nephews, whether they be her sister's side or let's say on her sister's husband's side, whatever. Okay, I sometimes make the joke. I say, "Hey, you're my nephew by marriage." Okay, but either way, okay, a family member is hurting her. Okay, and another family member has to come to your defense. And that defense ended in shooting another family member. That is a tough case. That is so sad. But guys, she's saying that she probably was going to be dead. So if this guy is stomping her out, how do we know he's going to stop? They're saying it's a case, it could be a case of mental illness. We know in this country we are dealing with, I think, an epidemic of mental illness, especially after 2020, the COVID, all that jazz. It has left some people with very serious mental problems. And what do we do to combat this? And in this case, this gentleman, why would he be beating the crap out of his auntie? Why? And so this happening, he had to, or this person had to come out and shoot this other nephew. This is sad. This is very sad. Okay, let's see if we can get some more information. Stand by.
In minutes, IMPD officers arrived. The wounded man was sent to the hospital, and detectives questioned the woman and the teenager.
He told him the truth, everything, how scared he was, and nobody was here but just us, him, me, and some kids.
It wasn't long before the 28-year-old wounded man was pronounced dead at the hospital, and the teenager who shot him was released to the custody of his mother.
He loved the both of us. He loved his cousin. He loved his auntie. He was stuck in a sticky situation. And so he did what he thought was the right thing to do.
Guys, do you hear that? That's tough. He was in a sticky situation, and it was either he had to go through his mind. It's either, if I don't stop this man, he's probably going to kill my aunt. So he shot him. This was a teenager. I wonder how old he was. Okay, but where did he get the gun? We don't know that either. Maybe the auntie already had one. And shot her 28 nephew. Teenager killed an older man, an adult. I think this is clearly justified. But man, among family members, this is probably the toughest. But I've definitely covered cases like this, and even some cases where a father had to shoot his son because of a mental illness case. I think it happened in Virginia, and he had to shoot him and kill him. Possibility of the son killing everybody in the room. And mental illness is a serious thing that is plaguing the United States. A lot of these mass shooters are going through this, and this is not a plea or a excuse, okay? Because what I don't like is when these criminals will use a mental case issue, a plead insanity, and then try to get off and be in a mental institution for the rest of their life. That I don't want either. But I gotta say, kudos to the teenager. A teenager had to shoot and kill a family member, but in self-defense of another. You know, it's terrible. But I'm sure this woman probably believed that if... I'm sure she's got something else to say. Let's see what the rest of what this woman has to say.
What happens if he doesn't come out and protect you? What happens?
Then I probably was going to be dead. I probably was going to be stumped in my head to death.
So, guys, you hear it, okay? All right, so that makes sense. I mean, it already made sense, but she realized that, hey, look, if this guy didn't come and do this, if her nephew, her younger nephew, didn't come out to kill the other nephew, then guess what? I probably would be gone. I would not be talking to you right now. Somebody else would be. Makes sense. This is why you have firearms, okay? And God forbid, the reason why we have firearms is not to shoot our own family members. That's not the reason to have them, okay? That's the last reason to have them, okay? The reason to have them is to deal with existential threats that are not from in your family. They're outside. They come from outside. Criminals, robbers. But not your own family members. But in some cases, guys, family can be just as deadly. It's so sad. Let's hear the rest, guys, and we'll close out.
And then it'd be a whole nother issue. You'd be talking to my mother.
Any decision about whether or not to charge the juvenile male who pulled the trigger early this morning will be left up to the Marion County prosecutor. On the northwest side, Russ McQuaid, Fox 59 News.
Running a business.
Well, guys, and that's sad. That's a sad story. I'll tell you. But the teenager knew enough to go get the firearm, right? And this could have been easily a case where it was a criminal, okay? Somebody outside of the family, all right? But the family knew enough to have firearms, guys. Guns in the home, guns in a spot where they were available, and even available to the teenager. Some people say, hey, lock them up. I know in some cases where people do not do that, just in case. Imagine you're going through an incident. This guy sees somebody, his aunt, his family member, getting stomped down. And guess what happened? He has to remember a code, or he has to get out a key to get a firearm. Versus, he just opens the door. The gun is in a holster. Let's say it's somewhere on a nightstand. Let's say it's somewhere where he can get it easily retrievable. And he shoots and fires. Okay, there are people out there that have responsible children. There are people that train their children. Hey, this is not a freaking toy. Okay, you only grab this in a life or death situation. And there have been other cases on my channel where I have covered where children, teenagers will shoot a gun, and in most cases, those guns aren't locked up. There is a reason for this. Guys, it's a sad case all around. I've said that multiple times, but thank goodness that the family had firearms. Thank goodness that these guys had guns. Thank goodness for the nephew. He's a good guy. Okay? Hopefully he gets counseling and he's not another case of mental illness for what he had to do to his family member. Okay? Because that can mess you up. But guys, good guys have guns. Good guys need to have them. Good guys should always have guns. Because if good men do nothing, there will be no good guys.